Welcome to Dash Explore. I'm Sarah, and in today's video, I'm going to be taking you along with me as I start planning our Airbnbs for our upcoming trip to Europe. So we are planning a trip to Italy and Denmark this spring, and any good international trip starts off with plane tickets. And that was our first step in the planning process, and we sat down one night this week. We knew our ending destination of Rome in Italy, and we started looking at all the options of flights in, flights out, and we came up with a couple of itineraries. So after sleeping on it for one night, we went ahead, we bought our tickets, and now we are so excited to jump into the planning process, and we are going to start things off by looking for the Airbnbs for our trip. So like I said, while we were looking at all the flights, we came up with kind of a loose itinerary of all the places that we wanted to visit while we were in Europe. We are going to be gone for about 10 days, and we have narrowed it down to spending time in Rome, Florence, Naples, and Copenhagen, Denmark. And I know the Copenhagen, Denmark thing seems a little odd, but we were supposed to have a 20-some hour layover on our way home, and after having done that in the past, we decided let's extend that by an extra day so that we get a little bit more time in Copenhagen. So we are also going to be spending some time in Denmark too. So to start things off today, I'm going to go and open up a Google Doc. That is my favorite way of planning my travel. You might have other ways of planning your travel, but it is something that works for me. It's easy for me to share it with Andrew and anybody else that's coming with us on our trips, and it just is a great way to take notes and be able to get things done while you're also researching and planning. So to start things off today, I'm going to be opening up my Google Doc and making a table. In the left column, I'm going to have the city we're staying in and the check-in and check-out dates for that city. So it will make starting the searching process a lot easier to have all that information written down in one place. And then I will use the right column to put all of the Airbnb links as I find listings that fit the criteria that we're looking for. Alright, so I have my table and my Google Doc all set up, and now I'm ready to jump into the Airbnb website. So to start off our search on Airbnb, I went into their website, I entered our destination, the check-in, check-out dates, and the number of guests we'll be having on this trip. We are so excited because for this trip, we are bringing my mother-in-law along, so we will have an extra set of helping hands, plus we will get to take her on some of our adventures, and I know the girls will have the best time getting to bring Nana along and having her experience this trip with us. And so now that I've done that and I've got my first page of results, before I do anything else or do any looking, I'm gonna go into the filter setting and I'm going to put in the things that we are gonna need to accommodate us on this trip. So that will include things like a pack and play for Delaney. It will be, ideally we'd like to have 2 bathrooms. Just with the number of people that we have, I think that that would be a lot easier. And ideally at least 2 bedrooms, but we will see what we can find in our searches. All right, so I have filtered down my results, and now I'm gonna start digging into the website. Fortunately for this trip, Andrew and I have been to Rome and Florence before, so we are pretty familiar with the city. We kind of know about where we want to stay, but I will pick a couple of different locations around each city to put into our options so that we can really look at the itinerary that we have planned and find the place that's gonna be the most suitable for us. All right, so now I have looked through the map. I've kind of picked a couple of places and some of the locations that we're looking at staying in, and I opened them all in new tabs across the top, and now I'm gonna start going through each listings. Things that I look for when I'm looking through a listing is I look at the reviews, especially the most recent reviews, and see what people have to say about the apartment. Again, I make sure it has that pack and play because that's something really important for us since we're traveling with Delaney and she is not ready to sleep in a big girl bed yet. And just overall location, the cleanliness, how the apartment looks, and yeah, I just take all of that into consideration and then start putting my options into my Google Doc. And something else I'm keeping in mind while looking at these Airbnbs is that we are planning to be gone for about 10 days on this trip. So something that not every apartment needs to have, but I'd like at least one of our apartments in one of our locations would be access to a washer and or dryer. I know dryers are not as common in Europe, but to be able to do a load of laundry, to wash base layers and all of that stuff so we don't have to pack 10 days worth of clothes for this trip. If we can kind of pack like half that amount, that would be super helpful. So also keep that in mind when you are doing your Airbnb search. Is how long is your trip? Do you think you'll need washer dryer? And just make a mental note of that. So I think I found a couple of really good options for Rome, and now I'm gonna hop into our next stop, which will be Florence. And I also wanna say that this is just like a very preliminary search. I am fortunate enough to stay home with our girls and to get to make all these wonderful YouTube videos for you guys, that I have the time during the day while Delaney is napping, while Haley's taking a rest or at school to be able to sit down and kind of do some of this preliminary research while Andrew's at work. And then we will sit down together this evening or tomorrow and go through these listings together and talk through the pros and the cons of each place until we find the listing that looks right and that will meet all of our needs. And another thing that is really important to keep in mind, especially when you're traveling to Europe, because the train system there is such a popular way of getting from place to place, is to look at where the local train station is. And that was one of the things that I did while I was in Rome, and this is something I'm gonna start looking into in Florence, is because we are going to be getting around by train. I'm not exactly sure how we're getting from the airport to the apartment yet. We haven't discussed that part yet, but we will be going from location to location within Italy by the train station. And with 2 girls and luggage, although we will have the extra helping hand of another adult, it is still a lot to manage. So we do want to make sure that we are not completely across the city from the train station, because that will make just getting to and from all of the places a lot easier. And also a reminder, since I almost forgot to do this, is when you start looking for a new city, make sure that you check your filter, that you've added all the accommodations that you need one more time, because you don't want to fall in love with the place and feel like it's perfect and then realize you forgot to check and see if it had a crib or any other amenity that you might need. So make sure you check that filter when you switch to a new location, and always double check your dates for check-in and check-out so that you make sure you're getting something that is available and has all the things that you need. Something else I like to keep in mind while starting to search for apartments is if I know that there is a specific location or tourist activity that we want to do while we are on our trip, that I will also sometimes pull up Google Maps just to make sure that I know where that location is and where all the apartments are that we're looking at, and kind of helps me to orient myself to the city a little bit, but also to make sure that we are not clear across the city from the places that we want to go. Okay, I think I have found some really great options for us on this trip. They are apartments that accommodate all the things that we need and all the people that we will be bringing with us, and seem to be in the locations that we are looking for this trip. So I hope that I was able to give you some helpful tips, and I hope you will be able to find a listing that meets all of your needs for your family on your next international vacation. So thank you so much for joining with me as I start planning our Europe trip for this spring, and I hope you will continue to follow along as I will continue to share planning updates as we go through the planning process. So thank you again for watching today, and if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, make sure you give it a like. And if you are enjoying all our travel content, or you want to follow along as I continue to plan this trip and as we go and share all of our itineraries and adventures, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can get notified when we post new videos. And you can head over to Instagram and follow us at @Explorer so you can follow along on all of our adventures. Thank you so much for watching today, and we will catch you in the next one.